Van Halen, Runnin' with the Devil. This is a CVT lesson for Dominic, and you kind of told me to pick what I thought would be one of the easier ones, and this is what we went with. Really cool thing that happened. I found an isolated guitar track from the actual recording studio when this was recorded, which basically meant I was able to hear just Eddie's guitar, and it was like being in heaven. It really was. So you know, this is your second CVT, Dominic, so you know kind of how it works on the tabs. We have 3 pages, and I went ahead and put the notation legend as far as where the the symbols for the vibrato and pull-offs and all that. But you know, you probably got that from the last one when we did the Black Torah lesson. I've subgrouped some parts. Pretty straightforward, man, because rhythmically we're basically dealing with 2 parts in this song. And the only time there's a few little filler things that Eddie's doing with natural harmonics and some hammer pull stuff going on. You want to tune flat, so it's a half step down. It's D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, A sharp, and D sharp, starting from string 6 all the way down. But I noticed it's actually like a little higher from there, so it's a half step down and then almost a quarter step sharp from that. Come across that a few times, man. I think like Def Leppard and maybe 𝐒𝐍𝐅. You know, I don't know why bands do that. It could be something in the studio where they just decided to pitch it up a tiny bit. I don't know. But if you want to dial it in, half step down is, if you play along with it, it's fine. But if it's bothering you, just go a little bit sharp on each one. All right. You got my cell number, dude. So you know, if you need help, I'm here for you, man. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's jump in. I've got, you know, obviously distortion going here, and Ed also has some reverb going, kind of a pretty big reverb, and I've caught all the little nuances, man, that Eddie's doing, right down to the slides and all the little things. The volume, this full volume at first, when we jump down into the verse, Eddie actually turns it down with his pinky a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. But we're starting on the low E string, fret 17, middle finger, and you're going to hit that, and as soon as you pick that, slide it to around fret 7. You're going to see the 7s in parentheses, because you don't really hear like it hanging out on that 7. That's going to lead him into what's coming up next, like the... And then, well, let's just jump into it. So you have the slide, and when your middle finger gets right over the 7th fret, the reason you won't slide all the way down is because you'll pass the target, and plus that's not how Eddie was doing it. So once you do that, you're going to bar the 5th fret on the D, G, and B with your first finger. Always a good habit, man. I think I mentioned this to you in the Torah, or why am I saying Torah? Dang it. Black Torah, sorry about that. Muting, and how important that is when you're playing. To mute above strings and below strings. It's just a good habit, man. Once the habit's instilled, you won't have to think about it. But try to touch that A so we don't accidentally hear it. And then the angle I have with that first finger, I'm also muting the high E. All you should hear is strings 4 through 2. Alright, so we have... And then we're going to move it from there a whole step sharp. Just use the same finger. Whole step is 2 frets, right? Sharp is this way. So we have... You'll have a rest in your tabs, fret hand muting. So as that's there on the 7th fret, take these 3 fingers, set them across all the strings, and lift the pressure off of this. So everything's muted, and you're going to go down up on strings 4, 3, and 2. If you hit an extra string in the mute, don't sweat it. It's the little things that don't matter. You know, you don't want to go. It's just a short little thing. 3, 4, and then you're going to press right back down on that 7th fret, and he's hammering on like this. You're going to hammer the middle finger to 8B and the 3rd finger to 9D. This might be, you know, a little tricky if you're not used to hammering on chords. A lot of people are familiar with hammering on single notes, but with chords sometimes they'll go to do it and it'll miss the string. You got to get used to it. Think of it as like a minor 7 shape. Alright, so we have Then take that shape you're doing, move it a whole step sharp to 11, 9, 10. But go ahead and bar again, because we're going to need that for the next part. So you'll hit those three, D, G, and B. And then just lift the middle and third finger off, and now you're barring the 9th fret, D, G, and B. Okay, so we have. Then he throws this in just about every time. A partial pick scrape, covering the pickup area, and then transitioning that into a slide, basically hammering to it under the 19th fret on the low E, and then sliding to around fret 7, so it'll go. I love catching the little things, man. If you're gonna do it, let's try to represent it. You know what I mean? So we have. Then you're starting over. So that's section 1. It goes 4 times. The 4th time in your tabs, you'll see no star. The star section is just the pick scrape with the hammer sliding. Alright? So he doesn't do that on the last one. And what he does do is, here's your 4th one. You'll end up sliding it slowly, well, kind of moderate tempo, over to fret 2, which is going to set you up. You don't want to let it hang out there. As soon as you get there, you're going to lower the volume with your pinky to where it's like a semi-distorted but mainly clean sounding. Alright, so open A, 2, D, hit those together. Middle finger, 3 on the low E, just barely bend it, quarter step bend. And then hit an open A, and then rest. By rest, karate chop, man, over here with this hand. So it's. Okay? Seen different ways of people playing it. You know, they'll go and make that a power chord. It's actually not, it's a single string there. Not a big deal, but this is, you know, I was able to isolate, like I said, just the guitar and hear exactly what Ed's doing. So palm mute the open A and go to 5-4 on the D and G. Open A palm mute, 4D, 2G. Open A palm mute, and then 2D open G. Make sure you shift that knuckle up to where it doesn't mute out that G. Alright, that sounds like this. Start it over. Up to the 5-4 on the GG. So, and then if I can find my place here. Oh, then you're gonna go 2D palm mute, and then 2D open G, no palm mute. So, and then the harmonics come in, which are gonna be. That's natural harmonics. Lightly press above fret 12 on the B and then the E. You should get this sound. Do the same thing on the 7th fret, B and G. So it's. And you're going to let that last 7 on the E ring. And then catch the 7 on the G. Those are things that are hard to hear when you got the drums going and the vocals and bass. I was able to hear that ringing in there, which is pretty cool. You'll have. So you got the sound of both those harmonics ringing. Then you're right back to the main groove here in the verse. That's our 3rd time through basically, and then the 4th one goes. And that's it for page. That's section 2, by the way. I think I told you that. We did section 1. We got all that. Moving to page 2. Open A, palm mute, 5-4 DG, so that's repeat stuff. And then this is different, 4D palm mute, and then 2D open G. So it's. And then he does this E minor. It's a. But you don't hear the high, like he rakes it up. And I'm kind of deciding whether to bar the 2nd fret on the A and D and put an angle on it to where you're gonna up strum and rake, and it sounds like he kind of goes towards the bridge. It's more tinty, but he silences these E, the higher strings, as he goes up. So you have to come back down and kind of hit it. Not a big deal if you can't do that. As he strums the E minor up, oops, he turns the volume up, and then you're going back to the beginning. So back to that part. All right, that is section 1, 4 times, 4th time no star. So, which would be the, all right, that'll be self-explanatory. You'll see that in the tabs. Sliding back around to the 2nd fret, going into section 2, which is the verse again. This time you'll see a no star, which is the first set of natural harmonics that Ed does are changed. So let's go ahead and try that. We have right here. Let me see. Yeah, and then you'll do the, okay, you'll see in the star part. So what you do instead is this. And what he's doing, that just replaces the harmonics. Remember we did that? That's being substituted with barring the 7th fret on the G and B, hitting both those, and hammer, pull the 9th fret on the G and B. There's 2 ways to go about that. You can use your 3rd and 4th finger, or you can use your 3rd finger and bar it. Actually, I guess you could use your pinky too. However you feel. I'm liking the 3rd and 4th. And you'll see that it's 6 times of the 7-9. All right, you're only picking the 7-7. Alright, and then you finish out the rest of section 2. Oops, I wasn't supposed to have my volume up that loud either. So you finish it out from the, and then the, and then, you know, the E minor rake again. Volume up. Then you're back into section 1 again. Then you'll see section 1 4 times, 4th no star, which will just be the pick scrape with the slide. And he goes into the solo, which will be, I'll run through it kind of moderate tempo first. Okay, try it again. Once you get that concept, actually let's just go into it. 12D, slide to 14 with your index. Knuckle shift down to 14G and B. So 15B. 17B, pull off to 15. 15B, pull off to 14. So when you're doing that, leave that first finger where you got it, because you're going to be needing to go to it for the pull off. No sense in lifting it, right? So you have, you leave the whole bar intact with where you did the knuckle shift. Palm mute 14 on the G and B, and that's another thing that's kind of hard to hear without the isolated track, but Ed's definitely muting those. And then go 14 on the B, G, and D. But don't go, you want to shift it, knuckle shift, kind of a reverse, like almost like if you're playing an arpeggio, which this is an arpeggio. Then do the same thing basically, but start on fret 10 on the D, slide to 12. And this time palm mute the 12G, we're going to knuckle shift to that. So you have, and then knuckle shift again, 12, 13B, and then 15, 13B. Those are all picked. So, and then 13B, pull off to 12. I just lost our place, brother. Let's see. palm mute 12 G and D, knuckle shifting as you go, and then 12 on the B, G, and D. Right? Then you go back kind of like you're starting the first one with an altered ending. But he palm mutes the 14 G on the way down on this one, just like he did over here. Right there. And then we do the 14. 14, 15, 17 on the B. 15 B twice, pull off to 14. So that one would go like this. Oops. And then, so that when you catch the 17 on the high E, you're bending it a whole step, back it with a couple fingers, Dominic. Don't just go put a couple fingers. It doesn't matter where they land because they're irrelevant as far as pitch. They're there to help support the bend and get the whole step out of it. You'll see a hold marker, hit it twice, and then come down and hit it without bending. So and then 9D, slide to 12. You could barely hear that, even on the isolated track, but and then slide up to 12D. As soon as you get there, go to 12, 12 on the B string, hammer to 13. 15, 13 B. So it's, and then he goes like this. And that is 15, 14 B and E. Then go 16, 15. Hit it again and whammy up a half step. And then let go of the bar and slide it down. Try that again for you. Alright. Then you're back into the section 1. That's all notated. But he only does it 2 times. Second time, no star. But he'll, right prior to that, it's the 17th fret sliding to 7. Alright, section 2, no star. Instead, you're going to throw in these harmonics. 12, G and E. Open G, no harmonic. And then 7 on the G and B harmonic. And then 5 on the G, B, and E. So it's pretty tricky to fit all those notes in there. So that's in the no star section, and then you finish it out. That's really it. It goes. You got repeat section 1, guitar solo again, no star, and basically on that you would go instead of going. He's gonna go. Let me see if I can pull that into context for you. That would be. Oops. Right here. 15 high E, whole step bend, vibrato, and then the rest is the same. Back to the beginning 5 times, no star at the end, so you have the. So on that 5th one, you'll see no star. Instead, you slide. You're doing the. Ending on the 9, D, G, and B, sliding that. And when you get around fret 2, just boom, silence it. So, like I said, Dominic, the isolated track, it might even be helpful for you to use as a guide. Just type it in Van Halen, Runnin' with the Devil, isolated. And it'll pull it up. It's the first one there. You have to forward up a little because, you know, it starts with the bass, boom, boom. Obviously, you're not going to hear nothing for quite a few seconds, and then you'll hear the guitar kick in. So if you're struggling with anything, you'll be able to hear it really finely tuned off of that isolated track. Thanks, dude. I had fun doing it. Eddie Van Halen is my all-time favorite guitar player. He's why I started playing guitar. And so it was a pleasure to do this for you, man. And like usual, if you have questions, me and you kind of text back and forth on the phone anyways. If you have questions, hit me up, and we'll make sure that everything is crystal clear for you. Thanks again, man. Yeah, okay, I'll play some of this. Why not?